So in the last lesson, we hooked up our data property, and so far we've been relying on things such as redirects and also the router link directive to allow us to navigate around our application. So what we're going to do in this lesson is jump into our donut single smart container and start to provide some more router functionality. So what we want to say is private, and then this is going to be the router, which is of type router. We can then hit enter. This package is then imported from Angular's router alongside the activated route. We can then go back down to our component. So when we have both of these imported, we essentially use the activated route to grab information from the router, but the router itself is that underlying API that we can then use to navigate around our application. So the first thing that we want to do is start to look at how we can use this to navigate. Our perfect example is to update an item, and once we've then updated, we can then go back to, for example, the home page. So inside of our onUpdate function, when we've then successfully saved, our subscribe call is then going to call our next function. And instead of calling a console log, we want to navigate back. So we can say this.router.navigate. You can see that we have the ability to navigate by the URL, but I like to just use the navigate API. This .navigate then comes with any array of commands. So what we can say is we want to navigate to our admin page. Similarly, when we go and delete an item, we also want to provide the exact same functionality. So here we're going to replace our console log. We're not going to worry about error handling because we've learned how to do this. We don't need to add things for every single use case. But when we save this out, jump into our price. We'll change things to 169. We can then blur, press update. This then updates behind the scenes. And you can see we've now automatically using this.router.navigate inside of our onUpdate, we've been taken back to our home page. Now, because inside of our update function, remember, we're making that put request, all of this is happening under the scenes as soon as we press update. So underneath, our state is being managed, which means that as soon as we're back on our homepage list view, look, we have 169 for glazed fudge, and it's very fast for us to then navigate between the components, and the data is actually synchronized and not refetched. If, of course, we were to refresh the page, the data is then requested once more. So we're making really good strides with our component. Now, there's one thing I want to show you, and that's how to use this create button, which is then going to allow us to navigate to that particular ID as soon as we have created an item. So instead of our created successfully, we can say this.router.navigate. We can then go to our admin again. Now this takes an array of commands, which means we need to pass in essentially what the URL needs to look like. So because we go to admin/donut and then the particular ID of the item that was created, we then need to say admin/donuts, and then we need to pass in the ID of the item. Now we don't have the ID, but we are given it through the function arguments of our subscribe. Because if you have a look, we have donut, which our create method then returns to us. So you can see we are returning our post, and we also have that tap, which is then setting the state. But once we are creating that one item, our HTTP response returns us that item. So we then have the created donut for us to then ask for the donut.id. So we can then save things out, and we look exactly like this. We have the ability to create a new donut. We can say testing. We can choose an icon. We can change the price, select a property, add a description. We can then press create. Under the scenes, this has then gone and created it. Now, I don't know if you saw, but we then navigated from our /new across to that new dynamic ID. And also our page flickered, if you saw. We had that create button disappear and our update and delete magically appear for us because we've now transitioned to a new component, which is then fully inside of our edit mode. Now, I really hope that you have enjoyed this course thoroughly. I've absolutely loved teaching you everything I can on Angular. We've come absolutely full circle. We can create items, we can delete items. We've got all of our donuts being added, edited, created, you name it. So I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the course. There's so much more to come in some of the other courses here at Ultimate Courses. And I hope this new knowledge gives you the superior capabilities to be able to not only just build an Angular application, but to architect one in sane ways that make sense, follow best practices, proven patterns, and clean code logic. So with this in mind, that concludes the course. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you well on your Angular journey.